What's up, it's me, DWC, and welcome back to another video on my channel in MLB The Show 20. And in today's video, as you can tell from the title, we are going to be adding one legend to every single team in the MLB and seeing how that impacts the league. And we gave them all 3-year contracts, so we're going to hop on in. We're going to randomly select a team once my roster loads up. We will scroll through and randomly stop on a team, which is going to be the Kansas City Royals. Obviously, I'm not going to have any control over the roster. I just need to pick a team. Okay, so now we're in, and basically what we're going to be doing is simulating 3 years. I put all the legends on 3-year contracts. We're going to see how they impact the league and impact their individual teams over this 3-year span, see if any of them retire. And now I'll quickly run through and show you the legend representative from each team and how I selected that. Pretty much I went for the most recognizable name or the best name from each team, but there's some ones where I had to make some decisions, so I will point them out as we go if necessary. Starting off with our representative, George Brett. Obvious selection right there for the Royals. Harmon Killebrew for the Twins. Rod Carew for the Angels. Starts off as a second baseman. I moved him to first because I figured it would help out their team more to have a first baseman, and he did spend a lot of his career at first base, so that's why I did that. Only player that I changed his position, just so you know that. Vida Blue for the Athletics. Edgar Martinez for the Mariners. I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering why Edgar Martinez over Griffey Jr., but Griffey Jr. spent a lot of his career not in Seattle, whereas Edgar Martinez spent his entire career almost, except for a few years with Baltimore, in Seattle, so that's why I went with him over Griffey Jr. Ivan Rodriguez, or Pudge, with the Rangers. Easy selection. He spent most of his career with Texas, so no questions about that. Jeff Bagwell I went with over Craig Biggio because obviously the Astros already have a good second baseman, so I decided to go with Bagwell for the Astros. Chipper Jones for the Braves, greatest switch hitter of all time, arguably, and one of the most recognizable faces for the Braves. Could have been a pitcher. I could have went with one of the big pitchers from back in the day, but I figured it had to be Chipper Jones. Gary Sheffield for the Marlins. The Marlins was one team that didn't have many options. It was basically Sheffield or Juan Pierre, so Sheffield was an easy choice. Gary Carter for the Nationals. Obviously, the Nationals representing the Expos from back in the day, and there's not many legends for the Nationals yet, other than, like, I guess Strasburg maybe, and obviously Ryan Zimmerman, but he's still there. So I went with Gary Carter to represent the Expos, as he spent a lot of his career with the Expos. Tom Seaver is the representative for the Mets. Mike Schmidt for the Phillies. Ryan Sandberg for the Cubs, Johnny Bench for the Reds, Robin Yount for the Brewers, Honus Wagner for the Pirates. I think he was the player that played the longest ago, as he played back in 1897, was his first season, which is crazy to me. 35 years old. I'm not sure if he will play all 3 seasons. We'll have to find that out. Bob Gibson is the Cardinals representative. The Cardinals had a couple options. I decided to go with Bob Gibson because he played his entire career with St. Louis, and I kind of thought they needed a starting pitcher to help out their rotation. Luis Gonzalez with the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks didn't have many choices, so it was pretty easy to pick Gonzalez because he had some very, very good years with Arizona. You see, he had 57 home runs that one year, so that was pretty easy. Todd Helton with the Rockies is an easy choice. Probably one of, if not the most recognizable face for that franchise. Jackie Robinson with the Dodgers. Doesn't need to be explained. First player to break the color barrier. Trevor Hoffman is, I believe, the oldest player on this roster, is 43 years old. So I highly doubt he'll make it through all 3 years of the simulation. And I went with him over Tony Gwynn because Tony Gwynn had a lot of his career that wasn't as a part of the Padres. He had a lot of his productive years in Baltimore. So we went with Trevor Hoffman, 600 saves in his career. Hard to deny that. Willie McCovey has a whole section of the Giants ballpark named after him in McCovey Cove, so that's an easy choice. Cal Ripken Jr., easy choice. Ted Williams, very easy choice. Could have went David Ortiz, but if Ted Williams is an option, you take Ted Williams. Babe Ruth for the Yankees. Could have been Gehrig or Mantle, but I decided to go with Babe Ruth. Evan Longoria for the Rays kind of messes up this universe a little bit because obviously he still plays for the Giants, but he, in my opinion, is the most recognizable face for this franchise, so I decided to put him in there as the Rays legend. Joe Carter for the Blue Jays, Frank Thomas for the White Sox, Bob Feller for the Indians, Ty Cobb for the Tigers, and back to us with George Brett. Every legend is between 15 and 30 million. It varies. Most of them are at 30 million. 3-year contracts, as you can see right here. And we're going to get into simulation. I might update you at the All-Star break, probably most likely at the end of the season. We'll look at award winners, we'll look at league leaders, we'll look at standings, and then we'll simulate through the playoffs, and then we'll move on to the next season. So, see you at the end of the year. End of season 1 is here, and the Royals finished at 72-90 and did not make the postseason. That is improved over what they did last year and what I expected them to do, honestly. That is our team, but obviously we have no impact on what happens with them. We're going to accept all that. We will stop simulating. We're going to take a look at the league leaders and the awards and see who won anything and who led the league. So, top 5 batting average in the American League is Jeff Bagwell, Ted Williams, George Brett, Rod Carew, and Jorge Polanco. No surprise there that a lot of the legends are up there. Top 5 home run getters are Ted Williams, Yordan Alvarez, Jeff Bagwell, JD Martinez, and Pudge Rodriguez. Looking at the National League, we have the top batting average players: Willie McCovey, Jackie Robinson, Todd Helton, David Peralta, and Starlin Castro. And the top home run getters are Chipper Jones with 50, Willie McCovey 48, Paul Goldschmidt, Luis Gonzalez, and Eugenio Suarez. Ty Cobb and Rod Carew are up there for stolen bases in the American League, and Jackie Robinson is up there with stolen bases in the National League. Pretty far behind Jonathan Villar and Trey Turner, but he's top 5 nonetheless. ERA leader in the National League is Bob Gibson, and number 6 is Tom Seaver. Vida Blue is number 7 in the ERA leaders list in the American League. Bob Gibson and Tom Seaver are both up there for league leaders in WHIP, top 5, and there are no legends in the American League in the top 10 for WHIP. Vida Blue is number 11. So looking at the awards for season number 1, Ted Williams won MVP. Not very surprising, honestly, right there. Jeff Bagwell was behind him, and also Yordan Alvarez. So for a player that is a current day player to be in there in that mix, and a player that's only 22 years old, that's very impressive. But everybody knows Yordan Alvarez is a god in MLB The Show this year. Cy Young went to James Paxton, beating out Babe Ruth and Vida Blue. Batting title went to Jeff Bagwell, 347 average. Reliever of the year was Canley. Dom T. Williams was Rookie of the Year. Hank Aaron Award went to Bagwell. Gold Gloves. Are there any legends who won Gold Gloves? Cal Ripken did, but it looks like he was the only one. Silver Slugger for catcher went to Pudge. First baseman Bagwell. George Brett won Silver Slugger for third base. Ted Williams obviously won left field, or well, outfield. Ty Cobb won one of the outfield spots, and then Trout got the other one. So we are going to look at the National League now. National League MVP was Willie McCovey, with Luis Gonzalez and Chipper Jones behind him, so 3 legends in the mix there. Cy Young was Walker Buehler over Bob Gibson and Max Scherzer. Willie McCovey won the batting title over Jackie Robinson and Todd Helton. Dan Winkler was Reliever of the Year. Willie McCovey was Rookie of the Year. That doesn't make sense because he definitely has Major League experience, but whatever, we'll just ignore that. So Jazz Chisholm was Rookie of the Year in the National League. Hank Aaron Award went to Willie McCovey over Christian Yelich and Luis Gonzalez. Johnny Bench won a Gold Glove at catcher. Ron Sandberg won a Gold Glove at second base. Mike Schmidt at third. And then no Gold Gloves in the outfield for the legends. Silver Slugger went to Gary Carter. Willie McCovey, Jackie Robinson, Chipper Jones, Robin Yount, and Luis Gonzalez. So a lot of legends getting Silver Sluggers there. And now we're going to sim the postseason and see who ends up winning. Simming the postseason, and our winner is going to be the Dodgers defeat the Astros. So even in a league filled with legends, the Dodgers still come out on top. We'll see who won the awards for the postseason. Corey Seager was World Series MVP, and playoff MVP was also Corey Seager. So playoff MVP and World Series MVP for Corey Seager. That'll do it for this. I will update you on any big changes in free agency if it regards our legends. I don't expect it to. If any of them retire, I will show that now in a second. But other than that, we will see you again at the end of season number 2. We are now at the end of season number 2, and at the end of season number 1, Robin Yount actually went into free agency. I guess he's the one player I missed to change his contract. I did trade away some of the Royals' 8 potential prospects that aren't going to impact this 3-year simulation. So we got him on our team, then we sent him back to the Brewers just for some prospects again that aren't going to impact the 3-year simulation in exchange. So I did that to fix my mistake, and we're up to the point where we are through this season. I guess we can't see league leaders now because I accidentally went into the playoffs, but we're going to simulate through the off season and then look at all the award winners for this year. The Rays win the World Series with Evan Longoria, so we're going to go in and look at the award winners for this season, starting off with the MVP in the American League. This year was Cal Ripken, so second year in a row that a legend won. Jeff Bagwell was behind him, and Jorge Soler actually for our team was third. Cy Young went to Bob Feller, followed by Vida Blue. Mookie Betts won the batting title as he signed with the Tigers, which is a very interesting choice, but that's what he did. Doolittle reliever. Rookie of the year was Tariq Skubal. Evan Longoria won Gold Glove at third for the Rays. Cal Ripken won back-to-back Gold Gloves at shortstop. Ty Cobb won a Gold Glove in center field. Pudge won back-to-back Silver Sluggers at catcher. Bagwell won back-to-back Silver Sluggers at first. Ripken got a Silver Slugger at shortstop this season. And Ty Cobb got a Silver Slugger in the outfield. Postseason MVP went to Austin Meadows, and World Series MVP went to Nate Lowe. In the National League, Mike Schmidt won MVP for the Phillies. Juan Soto and Chipper Jones were runners-up. Jacob deGrom won Cy Young in the National League, followed by Kershaw and Buehler. Gary Sheffield won the batting title. Will Smith was reliever of the year. Lewin Diaz was rookie. Hank Aaron Award went to Chipper Jones. Johnny Bench won his second Gold Glove. Mike Schmidt won his second Gold Glove. Gary Sheffield won a Gold Glove this year. Johnny Bench won Silver Slugger at catcher this year over Gary Carter. Willie McCovey got a second Silver Slugger. Ron Sandberg over Jackie Robinson this year. Mike Schmidt won this year over Chipper Jones. Robin Yount, second year at shortstop with a Silver Slugger. And no legends in the outfield with Silver Sluggers. So those were our award winners in year number 2. I will go through each legend at the end of these 3 seasons and show you their individual stats just for fun. But that will take us into season number 3. Year 1, Dodgers win. Year 2, Tampa Bay wins. Let's get into season number 3, and I'll see you at the end of that with another update. I will show you this, as after year number 2, Trevor Hoffman did retire. As I mentioned before, he was the oldest legend who came back. He did stay after the first season. Now he is 45 years old. He fell off a lot, so he decided to call it quits, and he retired after season number 2. So that means that the Padres are now without a legend for the rest of this simulation in year number 3. We'll take a look at his final statistics. He got 46 saves in the first year of the simulation with the Padres. He didn't get any this year. He did still pitch 69 innings, though. Very, very solid. Up to 647 saves on his career with those 46 that he added. Trevor Hoffman calls it quits after year number 2. Had to include this coming up on the trade deadline here in season number 3, and the Los Angeles Angels acquire Cal Ripken Jr. from the Orioles in exchange for Rod Carew, Andrelton Simmons, and Joe Adell. So they get 95 overall Cal Ripken, but they give up superstar prospect in Joe Adell, one of the best fielding shortstops in Andrelton Simmons, and they give up a legend in exchange in Rod Carew. I think the Orioles win this trade, but blockbuster deal, including 2 legends, had to include it in the video. Moving on with the simulation until the end of season number 3. We have made it to the end of season number 3. The Royals have their best season yet at 78 and 84, still below 500 though. We are going to stop. We're going to look at the league leaders and the award winners very briefly, and then I will go over and show every legend and show what they did in these 3 years, just for you to stop and look at if you're interested. Ted Williams leads in batting average. Doubles is Ty Cobb. Home runs, Ted Williams and Bagwell are up there. Stolen bases, Ty Cobb. ERA, Vida Blue is up there. And whip, Vida Blue he's down there, but he's one of the league leaders, I guess, technically. National League, Tom Seaver leads the league in whip and ERA. Fantastic season right there for Tom Seaver. Home runs, Gary Sheffield's up there with 38. Chipper Jones and Willie McCovey also on the list. And batting average, Jackie Robinson leads the league in batting. And Gary Sheffield, Helton, Yount, McCovey, Bench, and Chipper Jones are also all there on the first page of the league leaders for batting average in the National League. Taking a look at awards now, we have Yordan Alvarez winning MVP in the American League. So even with all these legends in the league, Yordan Alvarez still manages to win himself an MVP because he is unbelievable this year in franchise mode. 63 home runs this year. Ridiculous stuff right there. So our 3 MVPs in the American League were Ted Williams, Cal Ripken Jr., and Yordan Alvarez. Cy Young went to Shane Bieber, so Paxton Feller Bieber. Batting title was Ted Williams, no surprise there really. Jonathan Holder was reliever of the year. Corey Lee was rookie of the year. Hank Aaron went to Ted Williams. Rod Carew got himself a Gold Glove at first. Evan Longoria won himself his 2nd Gold Glove in a row at 3rd. Cal Ripken did not win another Gold Glove at short. Silver Sluggers, we have Frank Thomas at first base, and Ted Williams and Ty Cobb in the outfield. National League, we have Most Valuable Player goes to Walker Buehler. So he also won the Cy Young, obviously. Even though I think Tom Seaver had better numbers, in my opinion, maybe. I guess it's the 20 wins and the 261 strikeouts. Cy Young and MVP for Walker Buehler. Jackie Robinson wins batting title. Bobby Dahlbeck wins Rookie of the Year. Gary Sheffield wins Hank Aaron Award. 3 Gold Gloves in 3 years for Mike Schmidt. Johnny Bench wins his 2nd in a row Silver Slugger. Jackie Robinson wins another Silver Slugger. Gary Sheffield wins himself a Silver Slugger. So we are going to simulate the postseason right now, and then I will go through quickly and show each of the legends' 3-year statistics to end it off. And the Dodgers win 2 out of 3 World Series here in this simulation. Like I said, I'm going to go through each of the legends and show off their statistics for these 3 seasons. So there you go. You have George Brett. He managed to hit 35, 22, and 28 home runs. Good amounts of hits each year. High average, as you expect from George Brett. Good OPS, so he was very solid for the Royals. Harmon Killebrew got worse. He hit 36, 31, and 28 home runs, so dropping off a little bit each year. His average was decent, 280, 273, and 270. His OPS was also pretty solid. Cal Ripken Jr. obviously was on the Orioles, now on the Angels, which is kind of weird. But you see here, he hit 40, 58, and 23 home runs. And he had a very solid average his first 2 years. This year, his numbers definitely took a dip all over. So the Angels trading for him was a very questionable decision, but 2 very solid years for Ripken Jr. Vida Blue had 3 very good years, 3.30 ERA in the first year, and then 2 lower ERAs in the second and third years. Good strikeout numbers in the first 2 years, 260 and 259, so 260 strikeouts in 2 years. And pretty good whip the first 2 years, and even the third year is not bad. So Vida Blue did well. Edgar Martinez now hit 25 home runs, only played 23 games the second season, and then hit 17 home runs. So it looks like Edgar Martinez didn't do that great. Overall, his numbers, his splits anyway, look pretty good, but he just didn't play very much in his second season. Ivan Rodriguez, we can imagine, did pretty good. 45, 38, and 27 home runs for him. Good average at 288, 309, and 348. Good OBP. Very good OPS at 907, 963, and 1043. So Pudge was one of the better players throughout this simulation. Bagwell now did very, very good for himself. 47, 51, and 41 home runs. High OPS, almost 1,000 each year. Very solid for him. Chipper Jones is dropping off a little bit. 50, 45, and 36 home runs for Chipper Jones. 284, 328, and 309 average for Chipper. 990, 1080, and 971 OPS. So obviously Chipper's going to do very well. Gary Sheffield now. 36, 36, and 38 home runs. 291, 339, and 318 average. And then 921, 1034, and 1046 OPS for Gary Sheffield, whose potential actually went up. Looks like one of the more consistent players in this simulation. Gary Carter's getting worse now. 24, 24, and 19 home runs for Gary Carter. 247, 281, 268 average. Good OBP every year. OPS 810, 842, 777. So for a catcher, that's about all you can ask for, as long as he's playing good defensively, which I can imagine he did. Tom Seaver had his best year in his final year. First year, he had 224 innings pitched, 200 plus innings every season, 200 plus strikeouts every season with 257 the first year, 277, 373, and 197 for the ERAs, and then 102, 133, and .96 for the whips for Tom Seaver. Mike Schmidt, I believe, was very solid throughout this. 33, 55, and 33 home runs. Good amounts of doubles. Average is about where you would want it. High 270s, mid 280s. Good OPS in the 900s and 1,000 in year number 2. Ron Sandberg, now Yelich, also on the Cubs, which is kind of weird to see. Ron Sandberg was pretty average. I guess he was actually pretty good, but compared to some of the other legends, he wasn't the greatest. 27, 41, 26. The average was pretty consistent. 267, 276, 274. Good OBP each year, and his OPS was pretty solid. Johnny Bench, 14 home runs the first season, so not much power that first season. 32 and 33 in year number 2 and 3. His average was not great in the first 2 years. His OPS was very bad in year number 1. Year number 2 it jumped up, and then year number 3 was his best season by far. Robin Yount, I believe, was good all 3 years, and it looks like that is the case. 857, 851, 913 OPS, 310, 290, 311 on the average, and 17, 27, and 28 home runs for Robin Yount. Honus Wagner looks like he's fallen off a good bit now at 37 years old. He got 160, 169, and 157 hits. Obviously, with Wagner, hits is more important than the home runs, although he did still hit 23, 20, and 17 home runs, which is by far more than he hit in any season of his actual career. But that's just how baseball is these days. Stole a few bags. 281, 292, 275 average. Very good OBPs. And OPS is sitting around 800 pretty consistently right there. Bob Gibson, one of the best pitchers that we added. 230 with a 1.01 whip. 198 with a 1.01 whip. And then a 3.24 ERA with a 1.2 whip. So very solid for Bob Gibson. And for him, a guy who had significantly less strikeouts than innings pitched in his career, just blew it away in this simulation with strikeouts. But again, baseball nowadays, there's a lot more strikeouts. His K/9 stat is a lot higher than it probably should be, but it is what it is. Luis Gonzalez looks like he was pretty good. Very good year number 1. Year number 2, he was also really good, and then he cooled off very slightly in year number 3. 43, 30, 28 on the home runs. 302, 295, 282. Very high OBPs and OPS at 1,000, 918, and 882. Todd Helton now was very consistent, very consistent throughout these 3 seasons. Probably the most consistent player yet, I think. 33, 36, 34 home runs, 318, 303, 315 average, high OBPs, OPS 955, 942, 947. Very consistent for Todd Helton. Jackie now had 26, 17, and 29 home runs. Very high averages for Jackie Robinson. Very high OBPs for Jackie Robinson. And good OPS at 993, 910, and 1023. Very good for Jackie Robinson. 201, 209, 2 seasons with 200 hits. Beautiful. Obviously, Trevor Hoffman retired, so we can't check out what he did, but I did show you that when he retired. Willie McCovey now. Looks like he was pretty good. 48, 43, and 34 home runs. 340, 320, 311 average. Very high OBPs, over 400 each year. OPS is also very high, up near 1,000 each season. Willie McCovey was fantastic in these 3 years. Rod Carew on the Orioles now. Obviously started off with the Angels. 20, 24, and 17 home runs. Not bad. 333, 323, and 310 averages. Very good. High OBPs, 400 plus each year. 399, we'll consider that 400. 965, 940, and 890 on the OPS. Very solid for Rod Carew. Ted Williams did Ted Williams things. 53, 46, 47 home runs. 337, 292, and 341 on the averages. Good OBPs. Very high OPSs with 1.125, 968, and then 1.114. So fantastic right there from Ted Williams. Don't expect any less. Babe Ruth actually wasn't very good as a pitcher in this. He struggled each year. 444 with a 1.4 whip, 367 with a 1.3 whip. That's not too bad. And then the final year, 462 with a 161 whip. Around 200 innings pitched. Close to 200 strikeouts each year. But with Babe Ruth, we also have hitting stats to look at. So it looks like he played in 100 games as a hitter each season. He had 23, 21, and 17 home runs. Averages 333, 313, and 260. And then OPS over 1,000, and 878. So Babe Ruth was very good as a hitter. Not so good as a pitcher. Evan Longoria, 30 home runs, 39 and 27. 282 average, 274, 293. And then OPSs were around the mid to high 800s. So very good for Longoria. Joe Carter hit 30, 38, and 24 home runs. The averages started off low at 254, moved up to 284 and 292. 800 OPS the first year, and then around 850 the next 2 seasons. Frank Thomas hit 41, 37, and 38 home runs. About what you expect from Frank Thomas. 302, 298, 305 average. And then the OPSs were in the mid to high 900s for Frank Thomas. Very solid first baseman. Can't ask for any more. Bob Feller for the Indians looks like he was pretty average as a pitcher. Like, he's a good pitcher. Third year he struggled a lot. 377, 356. And then the whip is around the 1.4 range. So nothing too spectacular there from Bob Feller. The strikeouts are really good. 260 in these 2 years, and then 230 in year number 3. Ty Cobb did fairly well. 38 home runs, 39 home runs, 36 home runs. Looks like he did very good. High stolen base totals each season. High average each season, 300 plus. And his OPS was around 950 to 970 for his OPSs. And that takes us back to George Brett. So that will be it for our one legend on each team in the MLB simulation. 3 seasons with legends in the MLB. In MLB The Show 20. Hopefully you enjoyed. I did. It was a lot of fun to make, honestly, to go through and see how these legends impacted the league and how they did on their respective teams. Before I end this video, I'm going to quickly go into free agency as I put all the legends on 3-year contracts, and we're going to see what teams they all end up on after this and if any of them team up. Just for fun, to check it out to end off this video. So we are going to advance to the offseason, and then I will show you the teams quickly with all the legends after this off season. We will quickly go through and see if there's any legends that did retire this season. It looks like there aren't any that I recognize yet, and it doesn't look like any retired this season. So we are going to get in as Pujols and Cano are inducted into the Hall of Fame. We're going to go through free agency and see where all the legends end up afterwards. We are now at the end of the offseason, and we are going to take a look at the rosters and see which legends went where. So it looks like the Royals lost George Brett, but they brought in Rod Carew. I did move him over to third base, if you're wondering. He could play third. I decided to move him over to third. His overall actually goes up from what he was as a first baseman. And they also brought in Max Muncy. Ty Cobb and George Brett are now on the Tigers together, which is absolutely disgusting. Those two players being there with Mookie Betts. That is gross. The Indians don't have a legend anymore. Frank Thomas is still with the White Sox. The Blue Jays don't have a legend anymore. Evan Longoria is still in Tampa. Jackie Robinson is now with the Yankees. Luis Gonzalez and Harmon Killebrew are now on the Red Sox. No legend in Baltimore. Ted Williams is now in San Francisco. No legend in San Diego. Jeff Bagwell is in LA. No legend in Colorado. Joe Carter went to Arizona. Bob Gibson is still in St. Louis. Honus is still hanging on there in Pittsburgh. Robin Yount and Gary Carter are teammates in Milwaukee. Johnny Bench and Babe Ruth are teammates in Cincinnati. Willie McCovey and Ron Sandberg team up in Chicago for the Cubs, and Mike Schmidt is still in Philly. Tom Seaver is still in New York. No legend now in Washington. Gary Sheffield is still with the Marlins. Chipper Jones is still with the Braves. And Bob Feller is now on the Astros. Pudge is still with the Rangers. Edgar is still with the Mariners. Vida Blue is still with the Athletics. Todd Helton and Cal Ripken Jr. now are teammates with Mike Trout and Rendon on the Angels. No legend now in Minnesota. And then back to Kansas City with Rod Carew. So that has been this video, a simulation in MLB The Show with legends, one legend per team in MLB The Show 20. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I did. It has been a lot of fun, and I will see you soon with another video in MLB The Show 20.